And here we go with yet another fascinating poster presentation. So I'm joined by
Houben from Maastricht University.
And Wenjie from Maastricht University too.
Who were very keen to come into the studio here at EASD Live to talk about the Maastricht study. So first of all, explain the Maastricht study.
Yes, the Maastricht study is a population-based cohort study in the southern part of the Netherlands. And what we do is an oversampling of type 2 diabetes, so we can really compare type 2 diabetes good with other forms of glucose metabolism and non-diabetes. And one of the unique features is that we have a very deep phenotyping profile with all the participants, and especially for the microcirculation, which is, I guess, unique in the world. We do a lot of different measurements, and we are presenting today one of these measurements here at the conference.
And so now take it on from there.
Yeah, as he said, I mentioned before, I use the Maastricht University, so many population, and have the results that the retinal microvascular calibers have already changed in the prediabetes. This is very fantastic results because we also have other microvascular measurements, and we also have confirmed their change in the prediabetes status. So we can confirm and have a conclusion that those microvascular dysfunction already taken place before the diabetes happens.
Now that's both very good and very depressing, because you're seeing that change beforehand. So what does it mean, or what might it mean for clinical practice?
So what we think is how we explain this data is that probably it's a very first compensation of the system to get more oxygen and more nutrients to the tissue. And therefore you get a vasodilation in the eye. But on the long run, this also has some downside to it, because capillary pressure may go up, and that may damage the very vulnerable capillaries, and in the end you get loss of capillaries, which is the first stage of diabetic retinopathy. Yeah. So, and this is possibly, as we saw, part of our conclusions is that it may already start this process before the diagnosis of diabetes. So then you have a kind of ticking clock already before you start getting treated by your physician.
So would that mean that really you should screen in the way that, using the methodologies you've used, you should screen all your diabetic patients to see whether that's an issue for them?
Yes, actually we have a collaboration with the Technical University of Houben, and we collaborate together to develop a new software to classified and identified retinal microvascular features using the fundus photo. And they have more experience in the China population, and they also have a collaboration there. And the screen project has already begun.
Oh, what an interesting study, an interesting finding. But not all people with diabetes go on to develop diabetic retinopathy. And that's an interesting thing. We've heard a lot here in this meeting about there being particular phenotypes that seem to be more at risk of retinopathy. Is that something you might investigate?
Yes, indeed. That's a very important point. And I guess we should not rely on only one measurement. So we are going to need a combination of different techniques, genetic profiling, biochemical profiling with plasma markers, but also profiling of the functioning of the microcirculation to get a good idea which patients are at risk at the beginning and which should get proper treatment already in an early stage.
Well, thank you for bringing that poster to us. And of course, you can see that poster and indeed all the posters on easd.org.